In this video, I'm going to be comparing Cook PVIs from before the 2024 elections and after. This is the after, and this revision from October 3rd, 2024 is the before. We're going to be looking at states and not by districts, because who wants to look at a bunch of districts? And using this, we're going to tell how states have shifted politically in the last, decade or so. Now, in case you don't know what the Cook Political Report is, the Cook Political Report looks at the last two elections and then weighs them in relation to the national average. So, the nation has shifted right overall. Looking at it, Trump won by 1.5% in 2024, lost by 4.5% in 2020, and in the popular vote, lost by around 2 in 2016. So the nation overall has shifted 3.5 points, or between the two, 1.75 points. So about 2 points shift. And, just show the way that it works with this is that you look at it relative to the national average and you see how they are, and you can compare between 2016 and 2024 how much states have really shifted. So you're going to be comparing Cook PVIs and noticing, where there's been significant changes. Now, Alabama was Republican plus 15, is Republican 15 now. Last cycle is also Republican plus 15. Alaska, last cycle was Republican plus 8. Now it's Republican plus 6. And you might be going, whoa, what's going on in Alaska? It's not that Alaska has really shifted leftward. Because Alaska shifted leftward only by 1.6%. Rather, it's sort of a combination of both Alaska shifting to the left and the nation as at large shifting to the right. Trump won Alaska by 13.1 points in 2024. He won Alaska by 14.7 in 2016. So Alaska has had a slight leftward shift. But it's also, you have to realize, the nation shifting at large, too. From being an average of Democrat plus 3 to being an average now of, Democrat plus 2 is also hurting Alaska. And by the way, in case you're wondering, it's the way that it works is that, plus 5 is going to be 10 points to the left of the nation. I don't know why it's done that way. It seems really random and stupid, but, all plus 6 means, an average of 12 points more Republican than the nation at large. Which, how accurate is it? I don't know. Arizona is now Republican plus 2. Last cycle was Republican plus 2. I know Arizona State had a huge swing to the left, but a lot of that was in 2012, where it voted for Romney by 9, into 2016, where it voted for Trump by 3.5. Democrats actually won Arizona in 2020, and now in 2024, Trump won it by 5.5. However, as we said, the rightward swing, take it also with the perspective of the fact that Democrats have gotten significantly worse nationally. Oh my God, it's hot outside. I'm going on my sleeves. I should have worn short sleeves today. So in this election, 2024, Arizona was still 5.5 points to the Republican. That's 4 points to the nation at large. 2016, it was in that election 6-ish. So, relative to the nation at large, Arizona has actually had a slight leftward shift. But not a significant one, I would say. Arkansas before was Republican plus 15. And my camera's not working. So the rest of the video will be done with no camera. Republican plus 15 now, before it was Republican plus 16. California was D plus 13 before, now it's D plus 12. Again, no real difference. Colorado, this went from D plus 4 to D plus 6. Colorado is a state that has taken a hard shift towards Democrats, starting with Obama in 2008. However, in 2016, the state was close. Clinton won the state by only 4.9. Biden wins it in a landslide over Trump, and Harris maintained a lot of his gains, so she won the state by 11%. Thus, even with Republicans, doing better nationally, they did a lot worse in Colorado. Hence, Colorado's big shift. Connecticut and Delaware are both D+8. They used to both be D+7. Florida and Georgia used to both be Republican +3. Now, Georgia is Republican +5, and Georgia is Republican +1. That's a bit surprising. Okay, there's my camera. Now, in that case, in 2016, Florida voted for Trump by 1.2, Georgia by 5.1. But in 2020, Trump wins Florida by 0.34, Biden wins Georgia by 0.24. They've largely followed along that arc since, but Trump won Florida by a landslide 13.1 point margin in 2024, compared to Georgia, where Trump only won by 2.2. So Georgia's taking a big swing to the left. Remember, Trump did about 3% worse in Georgia and about 3% better in the nation at large between the two. In Florida, his shift between the two elections is like 12%, so you have 3%, but it doesn't really do a whole lot for you in that case. Okay, is the camera's back to not working? I don't know. Hawaii is D+13 now. It was D+14. Idaho was Republican +18 before. Now it's Republican +18. Illinois is D+6 now. They were D+7. Indiana is R +11 before. Now they're R +9. But I don't really feel like taking a deep dive into a safe Republican state. Iowa is Republican +6 now. They used to be Republican +6 also. Kansas is Republican +10 now. They used to be Republican +8. They were Republican +10, and now they're Republican +8. Kentucky is Republican +16 before, now they're Republican +15. Louisiana is now +11, it used to be +12. Maine was Democrat +2, now they're Democratic +4. So Maine I'll dissect, because Maine's a state that did take a big shift, and it's not like it's one of those where it's like it's just comfortable for one side. This is a state that actually was a bit of a swing state. Now, the state used to be reliably Democratic, but in 2016, Trump made huge gains in Maine as he flipped the second district and only lost the state by 3%. And because Clinton won by around 2%, Maine was around 1% left of the nation at large. 2020, though, this trend reverses. Biden wins the state by 9%, putting it around 4.5% to the left of the nation at large. And in 2024, Harris didn't lose a ton of ground, as she won the state by 7%, putting it at around 8.5% to the left of the nation at large. So a big shift. Remember, Maine shifted around 4%. And then, keep in mind, Trump had national gains of around 3% that really made it so that Maine at first was within reach for the Republicans. Now I'm not so sure that that's true anymore. This camera is going to make me freak out. Maryland and Massachusetts were D+15 and D+14 now. They used to be flipped. Michigan, Republican +1 before. Now they're even. And in case you're wondering why they're even, in 2016, Trump made a historic flip of Michigan, winning it by 0.22. 2020, he loses Michigan, and Biden wins it by 2.8. In 2024, Trump wins Michigan by 1.4. But keep in mind that in 2016, Michigan was around 2.5 points to the left of the nation at large. This time, it was pretty much at the national average. So that kind of explains why it's shifted. You know, Michigan has been pretty in line with the popular vote winners at large. I think overall it still would be like Republican plus 0.8 or 0.9. I guess they ran down. Minnesota is D+3 now. They used to be D+1. Again, not too hard to see why. This is a state that Clinton won by 1.5 and actually voted to the right of the national average in 2016. Trump almost made a historic flip of Minnesota. 2020, Biden wins it by 7 points, putting it 2.5% to the left of the nation at large. And in 2024, Kamala wins the state by 4.2%. So the state was around 6% to the right. To the left of the nation at large. So, again, much like Maine, Minnesota's a state that was promising for the Republicans. And I'm actually wearing a Minnesota shirt to say this. It was a state that was promising for the Republicans, but not so much anymore. Do I have sunglasses anywhere? Like, literally anywhere? No? Okay, I guess I'm staying inside then. I guess I could put these back. It was cold inside, that's probably why it was shut. Right, probably shouldn't have. Mississippi, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska were all solid Republican states before this change. Nothing's really changed. At this point, we don't have enough time to really go through states that aren't anywhere remotely near competitive at this point, because they don't matter. Nevada was Republican plus 1 before. They're still Republican plus 1. In case you're surprised, like I kind of was. Basically, Clinton won Nevada by 2.4, putting it right at national average. 2020, Biden wins Nevada by 2.4. This time it's around 2% to the right of the nation at large. 2024, Trump wins by 3.1, putting it around 1.6. So it's definitely all plus 1 now. Before, it was kind of a toss-up, but I guess rounding-wise, put it at all plus 1. New Hampshire is D plus 2 now. They used to be D plus 1. Bit of a small shift in the state of New Hampshire. Remember, Clinton won the state by 0.4% in 2016, putting it to the right of the nation at large. But in 2020, Biden significantly improves on Clinton's performance and wins the state by around 7.5%, putting it around 3% to the left of the nation at large. And in 2024, the same trend followed. Harris won New Hampshire by 2.8%. This actually put the state around 4% more Democratic than the nation at large. So again, New Hampshire, a state that looked as if it could be teasing Republicans a little bit just to slam the door shut on them significantly. New Jersey is D plus 4 now. They used to be D plus 6. Remember, 2016, Clinton wins New Jersey by 14 points. Nobody bats an eye. 2020, Biden wins it by 16 points. So again, voting in both elections around 12% for the national average, hence the D plus 6 rating. 2024, all of a sudden, 5.9% win for Harris. It's only around 7% to the left of the nation at large. 7.4%. So you have to really look at how big that shift was. Really, comparing to past elections, New Jersey is a state that took a net 8.2% shift towards Trump. One of the biggest gains that we can really see. I'm not going to say it's certainly the biggest gain. Turning off my webcam for a second. We can see that the biggest gains were Florida, then New York, then California, then Hawaii. But New Jersey still came in 5th. It was a huge shift overall to the GOP. And this is a state that's now a bit in play for the Republicans. New Mexico, D plus 4 now. They used to be D plus 3. In case you're wondering, how it's possible, given how the state actually took a bit of a rightward shift. Well, in 2016, Clinton's 8% win in New Mexico was around 6% to the left of the nation at large. Harris' 6% win is actually about 8% for the nation at large. And Trump's and Biden's win in 2020 is also around 6%. So basically, the shift in New Mexico, while big, wasn't as big as some other states, and it must have been a very close, knock. New York is D+8. They used to be D+10, but not really surprising when, both Clinton and Biden win the state by around 23%, just for Harris to only win it by 13, and for it to be the weakest victory of any Democrat in the state since 1988. North Carolina is R+1 now. They used to be R+3. It's not really surprising. In 2016 to 2024, the state shifted left a little bit, and the nation took a huge shift to the right, so it's not really surprising what happened. North Dakota has always been safe. Ohio is R+5 now. They used to be R+6, in case you're surprised, like I was. I guess this must be that the shift from 2016 to 2024, even though significant, the national shift must have been just a bit more significant. Pennsylvania is R+1 now. They used to be R+2. Even though, Trump gained relative to 2016, he only gained by around 1% when he gained nationally by around 3%. Bunch of safe states. Texas was R+5, is now R+6. Virginia D+3 now. They were also D+3 before. Wisconsin R+2 before. Now they're even. And again, a big reason why they're even is because in 2016, righted the nation by around 3 points. 2020, same thing. 2024, they're left of the nation now by 0.6%. So Wisconsin actually shifted leftwards relative to the nation at large. And that's where I'll end.